Hello and welcome to NTD News Today. I'm Evelyn Lee, and here are today's top stories. A new variant in South Africa is raising concerns. Some countries are already banning travel. The WHO looking into whether it's a variant over which to be concerned. The State Department might be removing a group from the list of foreign terrorist organizations. The communist guerrilla group in Colombia is known for kidnappings and violent attacks. Virginia will soon get a new electoral map. The state isn't losing or adding any congressional seats, but the boundaries will have to move due to population shifts. Now, two outsiders are tasked with drawing the new map in less than 30 days. And dozens of illegal immigrants reportedly jumped onto a truck in southern Mexico, hitching a ride elsewhere. They were later stopped by border police following complaints. Countries in Europe and Asia are taking swift action to halt travel from several African countries. It's over a new mutated strain of COVID-19 that's been found in South Africa. The European Union announced it would propose stopping air travel from southern Africa. The UK has new restrictions on some African nations, and Japan is mandating a new 10-day quarantine for anyone traveling from southern Africa. And now Belgium has detected this new virus variant within its borders. It is the first known case of the variant in Europe. NTD's Jessica Beatty reports.
South Africa's health minister announced the discovery Thursday of a new CCP virus variant. It appears to be spreading rapidly in parts of the country.
A variant of serious concern, which is now driving this spike in numbers.
Scientists there now working to see what percentage of new cases are due to the new variant. They don't know much about it yet, but it contains more mutations than expected.
The main message to take is that you have to know the enemy in order to fight.
Researchers worry it may be more transmissible than the Delta variant. It's not known how effective current vaccines are against it. The World Health Organization meeting about it Friday. The spokesman saying it'll take a few weeks to understand.
So at this point, again, implementing travel measures is being cautioned against and taking a risk-based and a scientific approach.
Despite the warning against travel restrictions, the UK and Israel have banned travel from several African nations. Australia and the European Union also considering it.
Our view is very clear. We need to act very fast, we need to be vigilant, and we need to take all measures that are appropriate at this stage to prevent this virus from entering in Europe.
New Zealand's leader saying they're prepared for any new variants that might be resistant to vaccines.
That is why we're maintaining levels of public health protections. It's why we've maintained requirements at our border.
So far, the new variant's been detected in South Africa, Botswana, Malawi, Israel, and Hong Kong in a traveler from South Africa. Health expert Dr. Ben Cowling says it's probably already circulating globally.
It's quite possible that some governments will start to restrict travel from South Africa, maybe other parts of Africa. But I think we have to recognize that most likely this virus is already in other places. And so if we shut the door now, it's going to be probably too late.
WHO official Mike Ryan warning people against having knee-jerk responses. He says we should commend South Africa for being transparent instead of punishing it for being open about its findings. Jessica Beatty, NTD News.
And on the ground in South Africa, people are also worried over all the variants' unknowns. And it looks like would-be travelers are feeling the brunt of the new restrictions too.
Panic is brewing in South Africa's Johannesburg. Some fear that the newly detected CCP virus variant may dampen the vaccine's efficacy.
It's really concerning, and the fact that at the moment, the vaccines that are on the market, nobody knows if actually they're going to be effective against this variant or not.
Others are concerned about more travel bans likely to ensue.
My fear currently is travel restrictions because that's a huge part of my job.
At short notice, British people are changing their travel plans, or trying to, after the UK announced it would bar flights from the region.
It's a big inconvenience. We had our flights booked for a week's time, but we got the news from our daughter in the UK about 12:30, 1 o'clock last night.
Very emotional. I was happy to see my family, but I want to get home to my husband and my kids now.
Ever since these regulations were passed last night, people are frantically trying to get back into the UK.
The EU and India have also tightened border controls. Researchers say they hope to find out soon if the mutation is vaccine resistant.
Canadian singer Bryan says he tested positive for COVID-19 for a second time. Adams is also a photographer, and he was in Italy to promote his work. Adams photographed the Pirelli 2022 calendar. In an Instagram post, he announced his positive test, and one photo shows him inside an ambulance. He thanked fans for their support. In October 31st Instagram post, Adam wrote that he had COVID, but that he didn't have any symptoms. He also said his daughter had it at the same time, but that she only had a sore throat. He used the post as a chance to hashtag his new song, So Happy It Hurts. And many major U.S. retailers opened their doors to shoppers at 5 a.m. this morning for Black Friday. Early risers headed out in chilly weather to buy Christmas gifts, but they found the stores less crowded than in years past. The shift to online shopping, lingering COVID fears, and less steep discounts thinned the crowds. U.S. consumers entered the holiday season full of spending power thanks to a huge pile of money from multiple rounds of government pandemic relief. And now they have double-digit year-over-year wage increases as businesses compete for fewer workers. Retailers, including Target, Macy's, and Walmart, allocated more space and workers to online order pickup stations. Adobe says electronics had the highest out-of-stock levels, followed by personal care and home and gardens. This could be the last Black Friday ever for two of America's most famous retail brands, Sears and Kmart. When the two historic brands merged in 2005, there were 3,500 stores nationwide. But now you'll only find 21 full-line Sears stores left in the mainland U.S. and just 6 Kmarts. Retail experts predict those numbers will be down to 0 soon, but the big box retailers are not alone. Lord & Taylor completely folded during the pandemic, and JCPenney was forced into bankruptcy. Those aren't the only retail giants suffering. Gap says supply chain issues are to blame for $300 million in lost sales in its third quarter. The retailer says COVID-19 led to factory closures and backlogs at ports. That combination led to delays in getting merchandise into stores. Up to 30% of Gap's production comes out of factories in Vietnam, which were closed for several weeks this summer. The company's CEO says the supply chain drag lasted longer than it had projected. Gap's earnings report hit its stock shares hard in midweek trading, dropping 21%. Gap says it's bracing for losses of up to $350 million in sales through the holiday season because of continued supply chain delays. Gap Inc. operates the Gap, Old Navy, Banana Republic, and Athleta brands. The Biden administration is reportedly considering the removal of a communist rebel group in Colombia from the U.S. list of foreign terrorist groups. The move is angering a number of elected officials in Florida, both Democrat and Republican. Here are the details.
The State Department is reportedly considering removing the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia from the department's list of designated foreign terrorist organizations. The communist group is known as by its Spanish acronym FARC. It waged a guerrilla war against Colombia for more than a half-century until 2016.
Today, unfortunately, I'll just have to say that we have started the process of consulting with Congress on actions that we are taking with regard to the FARC, but we will have more details on this in the coming days. Nick.
FARC is known for kidnapping civilians, launching violent attacks in the heart of Bogota, and establishing a drug trafficking network. The group also hijacked a plane in 2002. The U.S. first designated FARC as a terrorist group in 1997. The 52-year guerrilla war in Colombia left over 260,000 people dead. In 2016, the Colombian government signed a peace agreement with FARC. The Obama administration helped negotiate the deal. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is condemning the decision to remove FARC from the list. He says it will embolden terrorist groups throughout Latin America, empower narco-traffickers, and pave the way for Castro Chavismo in Colombia. He called the policy an insult to members of the Colombian American community, many of whom fled that terrorist group's barbaric attacks on civilians. Congressman Charlie Crist, Florida State Senator Annette Taddeo, and the mayor of Miami-Dade County, all Democrats, also agree. They all criticized the decision on Twitter. Tadeo wrote, when she was 17 years old, she was forced to flee Colombia, the only country she ever knew, because of the Marxist terrorist organization Farc, a group of militias who kidnapped her father.
2 experts will redraw Virginia's electoral map by the end of the year. That's after the state's redistricting commission failed to finalize a plan. Here's more.
The Virginia Supreme Court has appointed 2 special masters to redraw Virginia's electoral maps in 30 days. While Virginia will continue to have 11 seats in the House, population shifts within the state mean the boundaries will have to move. In Virginia, the Redistricting Commission has the power to redraw electoral maps. But this year, the 16-member commission got bogged down in partisan disagreements and was unable to finalize a redistricting plan. So, the Virginia Supreme Court is taking over. Virginia Chief Justice Donald Lemons signed the order on November 19th. It appoints 2 electoral cartographers, Real Clear Politics senior elections analyst Sean Trend and University of California Irvine political science professor Bernard Groffman. Republican lawmakers nominated Trend, while Democrats nominated Groffman. Trend is a non-resident fellow at the conservative think tank American Enterprise Institute, and Groffman previously redrew Virginia's congressional districts and state house districts in 2018. The court order states the special masters shall be neutral and shall not act as advocates or representatives of any political party, and that they must have no conflicts of interest.
Representative Eddie Bernice Johnson says she's dropping her bid for re-election. The 85-year-old Texas Democrat says it's partly because of her party's recent infighting.
In an interview, Johnson pointed to her party's division over President Biden's social spending bill, noting that this contributed to her intention to retire. She told CBS DFW, "You begin to question why you get to a point where our party is not as together as you'd like it to be, like you've experienced." Johnson said the decision wasn't easy, and some leaders asked her to reconsider. The move has prompted lawmakers from both sides of the aisle to praise her service. Johnson is currently chair of the House Science, Space, and Technology Committee. According to the Washington Post, one colleague, Republican Representative Frank Lucas, called her a true public servant, stating that she's an old-school legislator who cares more about results than headlines, and I respect that deeply. Johnson on Wednesday endorsed Democratic Representative Jasmine Crockett to take her seat.
Former President Trump issued a Thanksgiving greeting. His spokeswoman Liz Harrington posted it on Twitter. Some think it hints at a 2024 presidential run. Trump has yet to reveal his future political aspirations. In the greeting, Trump says, "Do not worry, we will be great again and enjoy your Thanksgiving knowing that a wonderful future lies ahead." In earlier interviews with Fox, Trump said he would probably wait until after the 2022 midterm elections before announcing if he would run again in 2024. The current White House press secretary has already confirmed that President Biden will run for re-election in 2024. Trump also issued a statement today where he says America has been taken over by scammers and hoaxers, and that the country has to be taken back. Groups of immigrants are reportedly hitching rides out of southern Mexico and traveling across the country in search of jobs and new shelter. But the National Guard says some are doing it illegally. Look at the details.
In the Gulf state of Veracruz, dozens of illegal immigrants jumped into the back of a truck. They hitched a ride across Mexico, seeking jobs and housing. The National Guard later stopped the vehicle. One activist accused authorities of attempting to kill them from fatigue.
We've already walked across 2 states, almost 3 counting this one, and what they are doing with women and children is inhumane.
But border officers explained otherwise.
Some people have reported that they board their vehicles without consent, that they scare people. You obviously don't see that. They don't talk about it. To them, we are doing something wrong, but we are not doing anything wrong.
Further south in Chiapas, some migrants remain stranded as they wait for documents. Many expect official status for employment in Mexico. The country is currently under pressure from the United States to stop migrant caravans from reaching their shared border.
Mexico is disputing an interpretation of auto trade rules in the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement, known as the USMCA. Mexico's economy minister, Tatiana Clouthier, says she is working to call for a panel to resolve a dispute with the U.S. She says she is working with the auto sector and the Canadian government. Mexico in August requested that the U.S. government initiate formal consultations in the rule dispute. But Clouthier said Washington has not budged in its stance. She says the U.S. has both Mexico and Canada's view. Mexico favors a more flexible interpretation of the auto industry regulations than the United States. The Trump administration overhauled the previous agreement in order to protect U.S. manufacturing jobs. U.S. trade unions argue that jobs have migrated to lower-cost Mexican plants since the previous NAFTA agreement first took effect in 1994. At a Washington, D.C. restaurant, it's a holiday tradition to deep-fry turkeys. They don't charge a fee, but any donations given are passed on to feed those without. NTD's Melina Weisskopf takes us to the restaurant to see how these people are giving thanks while giving back.
This steakhouse turns into a turkey frying fair on Thanksgiving Day. Folks drop off their raw turkeys and pick them up crunchy. And it's free to fry.
A lot of people get free turkeys, donated turkeys, but don't have the ability to cook them. The headlines the last 5-6 weeks were turkeys are more expensive, they're hard to find, the supply chain stuff, those are food insecure and hungry deal that 3 times a day.
It's been this holiday tradition for 15 years, frying turkeys for free. And it only takes about 30 minutes to get the turkey crispy, juicy, and ready to eat.
My dad has kind of always fried them, so I think the juice definitely stays in there, the flavor's there, and I like that crunch. So I usually go home to Georgia with my family, so I definitely wanted to bring the tradition back home.
Next year, come out and get your turkey fried.
In the past, they had a line on the sidewalk, but now there's a quicker method. Each turkey gets a number. Around 400 turkeys to fry this year.
And the reason we deep fry these turkeys for this event, otherwise we'd never be able to cook as many turkeys in the time we have.
But yeah, it was definitely worth it. Especially, you give a donation to charity, it's awesome. There's no fee, and it just offers for charity. You should definitely charge and people give money, but it makes me feel good to give money for something that's, worthwhile for sure. And, he's cooking my turkey for me.
They have a tip jar where generous donations go toward their nonprofit organization, Feed the Fridge, where they'll fill fridges around the community with ready-to-eat meals all year.
Not everybody can help on the level that Mark does, but we can all do something. Be grateful, but be active. Go out there and do something for someone else.
And these workers are doing just that. They volunteer some time on the holiday to give back and give thanks.
It's always good to give back, man, if we can. And it's been a crazy year for couple years for everybody. So it always makes you feel good to help somebody else.
Restaurant owner Mark Bucher says it's hard work, but it's worth it to support the community and encourage others to get out there too.
So we spent the last 3 days between Medium Rare and our Feed the Fridge nonprofit delivering over 3,000 Thanksgiving meals to the area's elderly that are in their apartments that just don't get out.
How do you feel after the day's over?
I'm tired. I've been going for 7 days straight with maybe 12 hours sleep.
The holiday will end, but Mark will keep going year-round with his mission to bring nourishment where there is hunger. Reporting in Washington, D.C., Melina Weisskopf, NTD News.
Well, turkeys are a classic symbol for Thanksgiving. In parts of California, flocks of wild turkeys casually roam through the hills in certain neighborhoods. NTD's Cynthia Kite spoke with some East Bay locals to hear more about the local feathered residents.
As the morning sun warms the hills of Lafayette, California, a flock of turkeys begin their morning hunt for food. Locals say their feathered neighbors showed up around 2001 and have made a home near the city's reservoir and residential areas.
And it was a little bit jarring because one day there were no wild turkeys and all of a sudden there were hundreds. When I was a senior in high school, they were actually on the roof of Camp Lindo High School one day. And that was the cover of our yearbook that year.
She says the birds are brave little guys. They have no fear of humans, dogs, or even coyotes.
When I was in high school, my friend was picking me up because we were going to go take our SATs. And she called me from her car and she was like, I can't get out. The turkeys are right outside the door of my car and won't let me out of the car.
At the Lafayette Reservoir, some feathered friends can be seen crossing the road or momentarily holding up traffic. Locals say they are used to seeing the birds strutting around town, though their population has decreased in recent years due to coyotes.
They're stubborn, they don't
They
move.
are stubborn.
Right.
They're always blocking the road for the most part. They flew up on our roof one time.
The turkeys in people's yards, or in some cases, the roof, were introduced to the state by the California Department of Fish and Wildlife in the 1950s through 90s. These fowl prefer forested-type habitats, like the coastal foothills. Yet many turkeys have developed a taste for the suburbs of Sacramento and the East Bay.
And also, I'm a golfer, and when we go on the golf course, sometimes they get in the way.
Many people came out to the reservoir on Thanksgiving Day to enjoy the morning sun.
This morning, my daughter and I are here for multiple reasons, just really giving thanks to this beautiful space that God created. The sun, the trees, the water is gorgeous, so we're really grateful for this.
People say the reservoir is a wonderful place to jog and spend time with family and friends before the big Thanksgiving dinner. But the wild turkeys are sitting out the celebration. Cynthia Kai, NTD News, California.
Philadelphia is home to the longest-running Thanksgiving parade in the nation. The city was hosting it for the 102nd time this year. NTD was there at the parade, so let's take a look.
Philadelphia residents are excited to watch the annual 6ABC Dunkin' Thanksgiving Day Parade this year, after the event moved online last year. The parade included massive floats, marching bands, dance groups, and choirs.
We come to usually with the family to start the holiday season off. It's been a little bit of a tradition for us the past few years. Missed it last year. It's a nice way to just kind of see the floats and take in all the atmosphere.
I'm here with my family. It's a tradition. Ever since I was little, we've been coming here. I used to come with my dad, and we meet up with cousins and family. And yeah, we get up early every Thanksgiving and we come to the parade.
I'm very happy to be out and about, to see the streets filled with people. We moved to Philly last year, and it was very quiet, very sad, and it's just fun. We're happy to be here.
I love this day. This is my favorite day of the year, and it's a beautiful weather day and a beautiful day in the city of Philadelphia.
The mayor of Philadelphia tells NTD what he thinks we should be thankful for.
First of all, we live in a country where we're very lucky. A lot of people grow up and live in countries where they don't have freedom, and they're abused, and they're poor, and they're hungry. And we live in a country with a great amount of wealth and a great amount of abundance, and we should be thankful, and we should also be more decent to each other.
People at the parade also shared with NTD what Thanksgiving means for them.
Happy Thanksgiving!
And what they are thankful for.
To give thanks to God that we can be here today, and to thank your family members and everyone for what you have.
We should be thankful for peace right now, thankful for the family all together, everyone's healthy, happy.
I have a lot to be thankful for. I'm thankful to be alive. I'm thankful for my family. I'm thankful for the blessings of America right now. I'm grateful that we are all able to stand and to stand strong.
The Philadelphia Thanksgiving Parade involved around 600 volunteers and 3,000 marchers.
Ball-shaped ice covered Lake Manitoba in Canada, as recorded in a social media video. The rare phenomenon was spotted by Peter Hofbauer, who owns Steep Rock Kayak and Canoe. Jeff Kavanaugh, a glaciologist from the University of Alberta, attributed the phenomena to supercooled water. That is water which remains liquid below its normal freezing point, even as it is moved and rolled by the wind, before eventually forming a solid ice. Kavanaugh explained the ice anomalies have the name of the round slush balls. The visuals made waves on social media where users found the slush balls to be a poetic action of nature. And a new app is helping abuse survivors to fight their abusers. It can be used to secretly record evidence of mistreatment and build a stronger court case. That and more on NTD News.
Secure, the true solution for your digital privacy and security. Secure is a private and secure messaging and email solution hosted in Switzerland, using military-grade encryption and Swiss privacy laws, giving you true privacy. Secure is 100% private and does not collect or sell any of your personal data. Secure's Helix technology connects you securely to our Swiss servers without the need of a VPN, guaranteeing privacy and security for all your communications. Secure Messenger doesn't require your phone number or any personal data that hackers target. Chat by Invites allows you to chat privately and securely with anyone outside of your secure network without the need for others to download Secure. Secure Send offers you a private and secure way to email anyone outside of Secure. You won't find this level of privacy or security on any other email or instant messaging application. Visit secure.com. Regain and protect your privacy today.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, the CEO of MyPillow. Cancel culture has not only affected myself and MyPillow, but millions of you out there. My employees and I want to personally thank each and every one of you for all of your support. At MyPillow, we not only have pillows, but we have hundreds of products, including my new slippers, bathrobes, sleepwear, and my new beds. We're offering the best gifts ever for the best prices ever. For example, we have this exclusive offer on the standard size MyPillows, regularly $69.98, now only $19.98 with your promo code. We also have the queen size MyPillows, regularly $79.98, now only $24.98 with your promo code. And we have the king size, regularly $89.98, now only $29.98 with your promo code. So go to mypillow.com now and use the promo code on your screen or call the 1-800 number below to receive this exclusive offer.
There is now a product available to aid victims of domestic abuse. The Victim's Voice app helps people discreetly document and store evidence, the kind that's needed to charge and prosecute an abuser or get a restraining order. Here's more.
I'm lucky to be alive. I really do believe that if I had stayed in that relationship, that I would be dead.
Heather Glogolich is a police lieutenant in Morris County, New Jersey. She's also a survivor of domestic abuse.
In October of 2008, my ex-husband came home and he had been intoxicated and he tried to start an argument with me and I just was done with it by that point, and he proceeded to beat me up for 4 hours, and it ended with him putting a pillow over my face and pulling the trigger of his gun after loading a round in, and then he just passed out. And I was able to just kind of lay there and let time pass and be able to construct a plan to get safe. And, you know, once we both woke up, I was able to call the police and he was arrested and charged, and that was the end of our relationship.
Her story of domestic abuse is one of many across the US. The burden of proof falls squarely on survivors, but building a case and collecting evidence for court can be complex. Glogolich was inspired to help.
I am a law enforcement advisor for Victim's Voice.
Victim's Voice is a web-based app that helps victims discreetly document and securely store the kind of evidence that law enforcement and district attorneys need to charge and prosecute an abuser or get a restraining order. Victims can diarize a timeline of the abuse they suffer and upload photos. The app is hidden upon exit, with no records of it in the history folder. The force behind the app is Sherry Kodakal.
Victim's Voice is really built to simplify a complex process of getting evidence from each incident of abuse to the justice system, whether it's a protective order or it's a criminal case or a civil case.
She's a survivor of decades of child abuse, sexual assault, and domestic violence. Globally, 1 in 3 women and girls experience physical or sexual violence in their lifetime, most frequently by an intimate partner. The situation has been exacerbated by the stress and enforced isolation of the COVID-19 pandemic. Calls to helplines have doubled or tripled in some countries. Dr. Jill Zinkgraf is executive director of a domestic abuse shelter. She says post-pandemic, the numbers have exploded.
Our numbers have increased 388% in shelter. They've increased, we have an 86% increase in counseling services. For the first time in my 8 years here, we have a wait list for people.
When COVID happened, it immediately locked down the courtrooms. It locked everything down. And we could literally see the states that were locking down by the usage spike that went up. And we're hearing reports across the country that phones went silent, that the calls coming into crisis centers, the calls coming into police departments effectively just dropped. But we saw the opposite. And we saw 6 states across the country that had triple-digit percentage increase in usage.
Victims' Voice is available through advocacy organizations, shelters, and law enforcement, or through the Victims' Voice website. Glogolich was an early contributor and now uses it regularly in her work.
The prosecution level of abusers is going to go up, and there's going to be more justice for victims, and they'll be seen as believable and trustworthy, because it isn't just he said, she said, he said, whatever the relationship is. It makes our job easier to be able to put the bad people away, right? And that's what we want to do as police officers. We want to protect people, and we want to put the bad people away.
Nations around the world are struggling as a global microchip shortage persists, and the United States is stuck in the middle. On one hand, it's looking to boost domestic chip making. On the other, it's strengthening ties with Taiwan, home to world's biggest chip manufacturer. Here's more.
Taiwan's Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, or TSMC, is the world's largest contract microchip maker. It's responsible for producing almost all of the world's most sophisticated chips, as well as many less advanced versions. These chips keep computers, cars, and smartphones around the world running. Because its tech is so widespread, any interference in TSMC's production process can spell major trouble for the U.S. and other nations. Many see the company as a kind of bridge connecting the safety of Taiwan and safety of the American supply chain. And that's exactly what's happening now. Talks between the U.S. and Taiwan earlier this week focused on the globe's worsening chip shortage. The event was dubbed the Second U.S.-Taiwan Economic Prosperity Partnership Dialogue. It marks the latest U.S. effort to strengthen economic ties with the chip-making powerhouse. There, U.S. Undersecretary of State Jose Fernandez and Taiwan's Economy Minister Wang Meihua discussed how to ease chip shortages and respond to what they called China's economic coercion. That comment came in response to recent remarks from Chinese Communist Party leader Xi Jinping, warning that U.S.-based Taiwan supporters were, quote, playing with fire. China's communist regime has never ruled Taiwan, but has long claimed the island as its own territory. Beijing has repeatedly hinted at taking over Taiwan by force. At the meeting, Wang said Taiwan and the U.S. are aiming for a long-term goal. For decades, Asian countries have replaced the U.S. as the world's top chip manufacturers. But the trend may be shifting. TSMC is now building a $12 billion plant to ramp up production in the U.S., while Korean giant Samsung is set to build a factory in Texas to the tune of $17 billion. It remains to be seen how the U.S. will balance its relationship with Taiwan and its efforts to boost domestic chip making.
Outside the tech industry, the U.S. is fostering its relations with Taiwan in other areas, too. 5 U.S. Congress members arrived in Taiwan on Thursday. Talks between them and Taiwan officials are expected to focus on security matters. Their short visit marks the second time in a month that American lawmakers have visited the island. Prior to arriving in Taiwan, the 5 politicians had made stops in Japan and South Korea. And in Russia, news agencies say at least 52 people died from a gas leak in a Siberian mine. 6 of the deceased were helping with rescue efforts. The tragedy is one of Russia's worst mining accidents since Soviet times.
The Regional Investigative Committee said 3 people, including the director of the mine and his deputy, had been arrested on suspicion of violating industrial safety rules. It said miners had suffocated when a ventilation shaft became filled with gas. Nearly 300 people were inside at the time, according to authorities, who say only 239 got out. Dozens of people were being treated at a hospital. Several remain in critical condition. State television said prosecutors believed there had been a methane explosion. The Kremlin said President Vladimir Putin had ordered the emergency's minister to fly out to the Kemerovo region to help with the operation. Kemerovo, over 2,000 miles east of Moscow, has suffered fatal mining accidents for years.
And still to come, it's not just the US. UK residents are also gearing up for Black Friday, and retailers are working hard to meet the demand. Some stores are even staffing robots in their warehouses to help. And a 3,000-year-old promenade in Egypt gets renovated. The famed route is lined with ancient statues and sphinxes and rams. Egypt hopes the restoration project will highlight the archaeological treasures. Find out more in just a minute.
The worst genocide in human history also destroyed the lives of thousands of Jewish survivors still suffering today.
God calls on people who believe in Him to act on His word. Comfort ye, comfort my people.
Especially during this holiday season of Hanukkah.
When I come here and I sit with Lily, I realize what she needs right now is food.
These elderly Jews are weak and they're sick. They're living on $2 a day. This now is how God's children are living. Take this time to send a survival food box to these forgotten Jews.
The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews urgently need your gift of $25 now to help provide one survival food box with all of the essentials they critically need for their diet for 1 month. Your special holiday gift will provide everything they need to celebrate the miracle of Hanukkah.
This is the first time in over 70 years that she has anything to do with faith. The communists came and wiped it out. Your grandparents? And now we're coming to her and we're saying it's okay to have faith. It's okay to light the Hanukkah candles.
For just $25, you can help supply the essential foods they desperately need for 1 month.
For over 35 years, this trusted ministry has given Christians like me a way to tangibly bless Jewish people who are in need throughout the world.
God tells us to take care of them, to feed the hungry. And I pray Holocaust survivors will be given the basic needs that they so desperately pray for to survive.
Italy and France signed a treaty to strengthen bilateral ties. The move comes as European diplomacy is tested by the departure of Germany's Angela Merkel. NTD's Andrew Thomas reports.
The Quirinale Treaty is named after the residence of the Italian president. It's aimed at enhancing cooperation between Paris and Rome in areas including defense, migration, the economy, culture, and trade.
The Treaty of Enhanced Cooperation that we signed this morning marks a historic moment in the relations between our two countries. France and Italy are further consolidating their diplomatic, commercial, political, and cultural ties. From today, we are even closer.
Italian Prime Minister Mario Draghi also criticized the EU's handling of the pandemic and the economic and social fallout.
I have said on several occasions that the rules that were in place until before the pandemic were already insufficient at that time. They had demonstrated their inadequacy throughout that period since the financial crisis began. They were pro-cyclical rules that in some respects aggravated the problem instead of helping countries to solve it.
The signing ceremony comes shortly after a new coalition was formed in Germany, ending 16 years of rule by Angela Merkel. Merkel proved to be a leader for Europe and forged especially close ties with successive French leaders.
The most profound meaning of this treaty is that our sovereignty, understood as our ability to direct the future as we want, can only be strengthened through a shared management of common challenges. In addition to consolidating our bilateral relations, the agreement aims to encourage and accelerate the process of European integration.
The new Berlin administration is expected to be more inward-looking, especially at the start of its mandate. But both Paris and Rome are keen to deepen relations in a period clouded by economic uncertainty, the pandemic, a more assertive Russia, a rising China, and a more disengaged United States. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
And it's that time of the year again. Just like retailers in the US, stores in the UK are getting ready for Black Friday. For many of them, that means hiring more people and even more robots. Here's more.
Boots is a health and beauty retailer in the UK. Its normal off-peak workforce staffs 1,500 people in its biggest warehouse. But an extra 1,100 workers, as well as some new electronic colleagues, will temporarily pitch in as they face the demand of Black Friday.
We use collaborative robots, which are robots that move orders between locations, so it takes the walking out rather than pulling a trolley around. The cobot does all the walking in effect, and we hire extra cobots for the peak period, so we're going to have about 220 of those active in the next week or so.
As for other retailers, this is a very strategic time of year. Many offer discounts on older generation smartphones or home appliances, and there's a reason for it.
The retailers get rid of stock that they kind of need to move anyway, and it means that people are buying product at this time of year when otherwise we held back from our spending, and that put unnecessary pressure into the retailers' logistics and supply chains.
But because of social distancing, most factories haven't been able to produce as many products as they would normally. Shipping container prices have also skyrocketed. Those extra challenges mean extra cost. For most retailers, their hands are tied. The price of their goods is often already printed on the packaging, so the only solution is to increase sales volumes.
What we are doing so far, and hopefully in the next 6 weeks, that our sales are better than we expected, and therefore that will help mitigate some of the costs.
But not all stores can afford to support these extra expenses.
They may not have the supply to be able to do it, and also they may not have the cash, the profitability to be able to do it, simply because they're trying not to pass the whole increased product cost onto the consumer, yet at the same time their own cost base has gone up.
Brits are expected to spend on average $366 during Black Friday this year, down from $393 last year. That's according to a Finder survey from October.
A rare find on a British farm has wowed some history buffs. England says archaeologists have discovered a Roman mosaic under a farm in Rutland, East Midlands. It's the first time a Roman mosaic has been uncovered in 1,600 years. The artwork depicts the Greek hero Achilles' battle with Hector during the Trojan War. It measures about 36 feet by 30 feet and forms the floor of what experts believe was a dining or entertaining area in a large villa. They say the complex dates back to the 3rd and 4th century AD and includes barns, possible bathhouses, and boundary ditches. Human remains dating back to the late Roman or early medieval period were also found at the site. An annual Christmas baking competition in Stockholm has a theme of togetherness this year. Bakers are interpreting the theme in unexpectedly creative ways, all using gingerbread. Let's take a look.
Now in its 31st year, the competition at Arcdes, Sweden's National Center for Architecture and Design, has attracted 130 fragrant entries. Sarah Sandell, a teacher at the museum, said the theme, Together, had been interpreted in many ways.
So this is a really nice work. It's the Berlin Wall that fell in 1989. And it's on the theme Together, so here you can see people meeting again after being separated. And I think it's a nice interpretation of the theme and also a connection to today and people meeting again after being away from each other.
While some creations referenced history, others borrowed from pop culture.
This is inspiration from the TV show Friends, and here you can see a central purr where the friends gather in every episode, I think. To just meet and hang out and be together. And you can see the detail, and this is something that you can really see in a lot of our work.
The theme was illustrated in many other ways, from animals on Noah's Ark, a family gathering for a Christmas meal, a couple in a movie theater, to a set of Russian nesting dolls. The winners will be announced on December 19th, and the Tasty exhibition runs until January 9th.
It's one of the top tourist destinations in Egypt. The Avenue of Sphinxes is over 3,000 years old and connects two ancient Egyptian temple complexes. The country has just finished renovating the ancient promenade. Let's take a look.
Egyptian authorities unveiled the renovated Avenue of the Sphinxes in a lavish ceremony Thursday. The ancient walkway connects the famous Karnak and Luxor temples in what was once the city of Thebes, Egypt's capital in antiquity.
Luxor deserves more than that, truly. It is the most important tourist and antiquity city in the world. It is the tourist Qibla for the whole world.
The ceremony included a reenactment of the ancient Opet festival. During the New Kingdom era in ancient Egypt, statues of Theban deities were paraded through the city during the annual festival, celebrating fertility and the flooding of the Nile. As for the recent version, Egypt's president marched in the ceremony, while pharaonic chariots and more than 400 young performers dressed in costumes also paraded down the famed avenue. The road is believed to have been the route pilgrims trod to visit the temples and pay tribute to their deities. It's several miles long and was discovered in 1949. It had been under excavation for more than 50 years, while its latest renovation was a government project aimed at highlighting the country's archaeological treasures. Tourism is an important industry for Egypt, but it has taken a hit in recent years. The country's tourism revenues plunged from around $13 billion in 2019 to about $4 billion in 2020.
And it's in these times of stress that people really benefit from self-care. So let's take a look at some smart ways to manage stress during the pandemic. Here's Gina Marie with Strong Mind and Body.
Welcome to Strong Mind and Body. I'm Gina Marie. Many people are experiencing more stress than ever. This stress can cause health problems such as headaches, trouble sleeping, muscle pain, upset stomach, and fatigue. According to Dr. Craig Sawchuk, a Mayo Clinic psychologist, everyone has a stressometer. This is a warning from your body that stress may be affecting your overall health. There are many ways to help reduce stress. Some people find help from practicing relaxation techniques such as meditation, focused breathing, and massage. Some simple lifestyle changes have also been shown to have an effect on stress levels. Sticking to a healthy diet full of fruits and vegetables and getting plenty of exercise can make a big difference in stress levels. Maintaining a good sleep routine can also be beneficial for stress reduction. Try to go to sleep and wake up at the same time each day. Also, reduce screen time before bed and try to avoid caffeine a couple of hours before sleep. This can make a big difference in the quality of sleep you get. Many people find it comforting to write a journal if they are struggling with their thinking. By writing down your stressful thoughts, you may be able to look at things in a different way. Also, be sure to pay attention to your social habits. It is easy to withdraw when feeling stressed, so be sure to set goals of reaching out to others to stay connected. It's also important to remember that we are all in this together. By being mindful and holding yourself accountable, you can reduce the risk of stress and its related symptoms. By staying healthy yourself, you may be able to reach out to a loved one who may be struggling. That will give them hope and reduce their stress levels as well.
For many, the day after Thanksgiving marks the beginning of Christmas music season. Let's tune into some of this season's latest sounds ahead of the holidays.
One of the biggest new Christmas songs this season is Mariah Carey's Fall in Love at Christmas, featuring Khalid and Kirk Franklin. The trio will perform it on Carey's upcoming Apple TV Plus holiday special, December 3rd. Debbie Gibson's original ode to the holidays is Christmas Star. It's been a busy year for Gibson, who in August dropped her first new album of original music in 20 years.
Many times, many ways, Merry Christmas to you.
That's Steve Perry singing the classic The Christmas Song. The performance comes from the former Journey singer's first set of holiday music, The Season. Folk rock group Blackmore's Night have released a remastered and expanded edition of their Winter Carols album this season. The 27-song double album features Christmas classics, originals, and live performances.
And that's it for now. Remember to catch us again tonight at 6:30 Eastern. Thanks for watching and have a good weekend.
Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Did you know YouTube only keeps selected videos on its platform? So if you want to make sure you get the full picture, just subscribe to our newsletter. Go to newsletter.ntd.com and sign up. It's free.